That's a TV sign. That means we're at zero. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Dan Vaughn with you. Ready to roll the show open? I'm ready. Here we go. Big show in 3, 2. There we go. That's what we do. 3, 2. There we go. Roll the open in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Oh, yes. There we go. A little graphic up right there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Dan Vaughn with you, the voice of the Monarchs. Glad you're along. Happy Thursday. Apologies off the top here. A little late today. And some of you may know this. I once in a while do some teaching in the off season. And today was one of those days. And I say teaching. It's substitute teaching, so I'm not really hounding the students, if you will, but had to do my thing today, and so I had to move things around. And I appreciate you stopping by here. If you're watching us live, sorry about the delay. If you're watching us on replay, well, it doesn't matter for you, right? You folks listening on the podcast, appointment listening as well, right? All right, here we go. I got my lineup card here. I got lots of notes here today. I got a big show. First off the top, we go every week now. We're in April. And if you followed us the last couple of years, April means, and I'm going to give my 2 good minutes in a moment and kind of get you there. But first off, we always check the mic and make sure we're hearing ourselves. And it appears we're hearing ourselves. Thumbs up. Are you hearing me? That's what you do, right? Thumbs up. Again, every week from now on, so we're going to roll right along. Our lead-up batter, featured guest, Joe Calpietra. And these things are so fluid, these hot stove updates, that Kenny Matthews, good to see you, my friend. Those hot stove updates come so fast at us that we don't really get a chance sometimes to breathe, because then boom, here they come again. And that's exactly what's happened here, is that, again, I mentioned I was substitute teaching today, right? I got to get this off the screen here, but I'm glad Kenny's on there, but I got to thank you, mate. Thank you here. By the way, your questions and comments are always welcome. Here we go. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is, because of my substitute teaching today, I had to do Joe's interview a little earlier today. And since that time, because the hot stove is so hot, and it does rock and roll so hot, that we've had some breaking news. We're going to get to that in a moment as well. There we go. Go off the screen there. If I can get this off the screen. Oops. Why is it off the screen? Well, anyway, I got thank you up there. Let's see if I can get that off the screen real quickly here. Sorry, talk amongst yourselves. I'm not sure why it's doing this. Let's see if this will do it. Yeah, there we go. That'll take it. There we go. Okay. All right, cool. All good. I mentioned Joe and I chatted already. I'm going to get that in a moment. I'm going to get the breaking news first, but I'm going to give you 2 good minutes of DV. We always start our show off like that. And, of course, on the back end of it, we got some Monarchs 101, and we've also got more hot stove news. But I'm going to start with the 2 good minutes, which means I put the 2 good minutes screen up. There we go. We count it down. And this one, I don't want to sit here and tell you this was a life-changing 2 good minutes, but it's definitely something that I think we all, at least in my case, we can all kind of relate to. Let me get to roll this here. Let me start this in 3, 2, 1. It's 2 good minutes with DV. Here we go. All right. Should be playing for us. I promise. Play. There we go. Okay. Monday night, many of my fellow Monarchs family members, Mark Brandmeier, Mark McKee, Jay Hendricks, cast of thousands. You watching across Kansas City and across the country, I'm very happy for the outcome of the national championship ball game. The Kansas City Jayhawks, had to throw that in there. The Kansas Jayhawks took down North Carolina. Game was great. Congratulations, tip the cap. Now, here's the deal. For me, it signals that baseball's upon us. I don't know if you're like me, but there's certain things in the schedule throughout the year, meaning, okay, for example, Christmas time tells me, well, it means that the NFL's about over, bowls are coming, and the national championship, and that we're going to go into really full swing of basketball. And does that make sense? Labor Day is a great example. Labor Day tells me, well, summer is just about over, and we're rolling right into the NFL, the college season, and the Major League playoffs. The national championship games like that. I don't think it dawns on me until the final buzzer on Monday night that, wait a second, the Masters is this weekend, and oh wait, opening day is today, happy opening day, and the Monarchs are just less than a month away, or about a month away, really, when it's about 5 weeks away. So I don't know if you're like me, and hopefully you're not. Hope you've got other things in your life. There's a priority. It's not sport. But if you're like me, you sat there going, all right, great, way to go, Rock Chalk, but all right, here comes baseball. Because some of us, like me, with that simple sports mind, my calendar is set on what ebbs and flows. It's not the spring, fall. Well, it's spring, fall, winter, summer. But it's the sports schedule really is how my schedule and life goes around. And I don't know if it dawned on you, it dawned on me, but on Monday night, it dawned on me that, that's the wrap. And that we're on into 2022 because really, Major League Baseball will obviously start today, but I'll bring this down right here. But college basketball began in 2021, right? I mean, we go back to what, November? And we're now pushing 2001 officially off the books. Now, the NBA playoffs, of course, are coming up, but that's a different season. The NBA season is not really a season, right? The NBA season is really a bunch of scrimmages until the NBA playoffs. What I'm telling you is that final buzzer meant Masters and baseball. And that means the season changed. We hit the reset button right there. And that's what we do. So maybe a normal citizen of the earth would reset based upon the seasons or when the physical year ends or whatever. But as for me and my blood, I reset based upon opening day and Final Four being done. And so let's enjoy the ride. We've waited long enough. Play ball. And that's my 2 good minutes with DV. A couple of comments here. Cindy says, I hope I get hired this season. I hope you do too. And Rock Chalk as well from another. We have 2 Cindys there. Rock Chalk as well. So, yeah, I hope that you get hired. Hope it goes well for you. We'd love to have you. But, okay. I mentioned that the substitute teaching thing, as we were talking here at Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs, that I had class this morning, right? So Joe and I taped the interview thinking that, okay, the hot stove's probably cool. It's going to be okay till tomorrow. We won't have any breaking news until tomorrow. At least that's sort of what I thought. But that's not necessarily the case. So I want to give you the breaking news now because unless you follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and you may have already seen this, and you probably already know this, but I'll give you the breaking news because it is a hot stove update. And we'll go to the breaking news sounder, which I love my sounders. I love my little bells and whistles. So we'll go ahead and give you some bells and whistles here in just a second. But breaking news from the hot stove to get you caught up as we roll to Joe Capietner's interview. Here we go with a little hot stove update. Here we go. Breaking news. The breaking news sounder. Yes. Breaking news. And I will bring this down for you and back to me. There we go. Break the breaking news sounder down. Okay, now this is an interesting signing. You may have seen this a few minutes ago, and I just saw the graphic. Morgan sent it to me a little while ago. Thank you, Morgan, for that. But I'm going to bring this up to you. JC Escara has signed. Now, this is a guy listed, and this is what I find interesting. He's listed as an infielder, first baseman type, corner type, But if you go to the American Association website, he's been penciled in as a catcher. Now, Alexis Almeida, who we're going to talk about in a moment with Joe Capietra, signed yesterday, which in theory gives you two catchers. Now, I've done some research in the last hour. This happened in the last hour, basically, and that JC, who came into the Baltimore Orioles organization out of Florida, I went to Florida Atlantic University. He predominantly in his pro career, actually all of his pro career, has been a first baseman. But in college, he did catch. I believe he caught a total of 70 some odd ball games, also some collegiate summer league ball as well. So he has caught before. I don't know if that was a clerical error on the part of the association, but my guess is, and I know that those guys are very sharp in the association, my guess is Joe Capietra has signed him as a first baseman / backup catcher / DH type. That is a guess. More on JC. I mentioned Florida Atlantic. And last year, AAA Norfolk with the Orioles organization. I keep thinking the Mets. The Mets were there forever, but it's the Orioles who are there in Norfolk, Virginia. And then Bowie, the Bay Sox, longtime Orioles organizational member. He spent really 2017, 18, 19, 21, of course, 20 season with the minor leagues. A couple of bio numbers as well. I mentioned Florida Atlantic, went to Modern Academy there in Florida, in the Miami area, and went to Florida International. I think I told you Florida Atlantic, Florida International. My bad. Drafted a couple of times, I believe, the 32nd round by the Mets out of high school, and then drafted in 15th round out of Baltimore from FIU. And welcoming JC Escara, who, again, hit last year, just looking at the numbers last year combined, hit 223, went deep 8 times, 38 driven in, played 58 ball games at AAA, 37 at AA. So not quite an even sample size, but you get an idea of what we got there. So that's your breaking news right there, that the Monarchs have added J.C. Escara, and we'll find out more and more about him. But the breaking news, there we go. Breaking news sounder. Oh, you know I love my bells and whistles. Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs continues. Dan Vaughn with you, the voice of the Monarchs. Glad you're along. And throughout the show, especially as we get rolling into April, going every week, I want your questions and comments, so fire them off. We're going to be a little shorter the next few weeks as we go into the season. We'll shorten the show down because we're going to be going every week, so we'll have to get everything in as off the top, plus the extra content. We've got some of that moving over to the podcast, which will drop after this show, a little bit overnight here. So anyway, that's where we stand. All right, Reborn continues. Our featured guest, the man on the top step, a great catch-up on the hot stove. Let's roll the open. 3, 2, 1. Here we go with Joe Capietra. Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs continues, and our featured guest this week, the one and only manager, Joe Capietra. Haven't caught up in a while, but good to see your smiling face. It's getting close. Joe, you ready?
Yep, we're ready.
Ready to go, ready to go. Well, let's start. First things, overall, where are we overall? Where you are right now as we basically first week of April, where are we?
Yeah, it's tough to tell right now. We still have a couple weeks left before we get into camp. We still do have some pieces that we have to put together. So the next couple of weeks, I would say, are going to be important. I don't say we're a finished product by any stretch of the imagination.
A couple of big names the last 24 hours. And let's start. First off, Alexis Almeida, which I was asked earlier this week on This Week in the American Association on their podcast. They asked me, well, what's Joe going to do next? What about a catcher? I said, well, I'm going to ask Joe about a catcher. Well, they beat me to the punch. You beat us to the punch. You signed Alexis, a guy who really made a huge difference last year. Good to have a guy by the dish building up the middle right there.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to have him back. I mean, he really did do a great job for us when we got him. So we're happy to have him back. It does give us some security right now. So and obviously we have to do some more things.
Sure.
We're far from done.
He really was an impact guy too when he came in, basically got off the plane, went to Gary, joined the ball club there on the road. He hit the ground running. But you looking back on the 2021 season, how important was to have that guy behind the dish basically every night handling that pitching staff?
Yeah, well, he did. He handled the pitching staff very well. When we picked him up, we were in a little turmoil there behind the plate. We were experimenting, a couple different things, and he did. He solidified a lot of different things for us. So we were happy to get him, and he did settle down some things, and we were able to move forward from there.
Joe Capiatro with us here on Rain Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Dan Vaughn with you as we, first week of April, and a guy that made the final out in the 2021 championship series, final game against Fargo Moorhead. Jamison McGrain. JMO's back. I know that's going to excite you. I'm sure it's exciting Mike Hinneman as well. That's a great piece to have, that back end piece. Back end piece is back. Is that where he's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where, starting the season, last year he did a couple of different things for us. We needed a starter. Jamison's a guy that he wanted to plug in wherever we needed him. So he did some starting, but, obviously he's a back end bullpen guy, and he did an outstanding job closing out games for us. So hopefully we won't need to bounce him around as much this year.
Another guy I want to ask you about is David Thompson, a guy that really, and I say this, that's like a broken record on my show, on this show. I say, well, he fits the pedigree. He fits the pedigree for Joe, a guy that's got some skins in the wall, who's got a little something perhaps to prove, all those things. But David Thompson seems like a corner infield piece that is going to fit in nicely. Would I sum him up correctly?
Yeah, I mean, he has some versatility. He could play a couple different spots, and wants to do that. And he does. He has a little edge to him, in talking with him and in the process of getting him to come into Kansas City. So I think he is going to fit in nicely, and we're excited to have him. We're looking forward to putting him in with some of the other pieces that we're kind of familiar with. So it's, it could be exciting.
And I mentioned him because my next thing is the number 88. That's the number of home runs that you've got coming back currently from that record-setting club last year with Darnell Sweeney, Casey Gillespie, Jan Hernandez, Imadel Isabel. I'm missing somebody here. Am I missing? But you've got that bunch back, and you throw this in there. You throw Thompson in there. The power numbers look menacing.
Yeah, well, we have to do it. I mean, the talk is good. And with Jan Hernandez coming back and all that, but we have to do it. The paper's the paper, and the guys have done it in the past here, but we have to go out and we have to put it together on the field. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the guys. That's what I'm looking forward to doing. And pretty soon we're going to have them on the field all together, and we'll see what happens.
Gabby Guerrero was the other name that I left out. And had I leave that guy out, I mean, he only was the MVP of the postseason and was just having fun. While we're on Gabby, because I mentioned this when we signed him a couple weeks ago, there's something about him that's fun. I look at him and he's they talk about baseball being a grown men playing kids game. He definitely epitomizes that because he's having fun out there.
Yeah, he does. He has fun with the fans. He has fun with the players. He has fun with his coaching staff. He has fun with his manager. He has fun. He has fun all around. So he keeps it loose, and he has fun. So he's exciting. He's an exciting kid. So it's a fun club. It really is, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone together again.
this clip was asked to me as well when I was on This Week in the Association. One of those two guys, I believe, was Kevin Luco, asked me, how can you repeat? Is there going to be hunger there? All those things because of all the familiar faces coming back. That's something, at least in your time in Kansas City, you've got more familiar faces than before. What's going to be the key for keeping that hunger going?
Well, I mean, I think that's a big part that it's going to be on our shoulders, the coaching staff and myself, to make sure the guys are motivated. And I think the clubhouse is going to have a lot to do with that also. And I think the leadership in the clubhouse, because this is odd for me.
Right.
This is odd.
Yeah.
I have never brought back so many players from one year to another. Now, this is something that I wanted to do this year because of the players that we have. This is odd that so many players are coming back because there's so many players that deserve to be back, that wanted to be back. It's just the whole package. So we felt that this is the year that all these guys are going to be back together again. I mean, this is not going to be one of those, tours of, we're coming back for a reason,
Right.
We're coming back for a reason. And the reason is to win. And the reason is that these guys want to get back to play back with a major league affiliate. And so all the stars are lined up with these guys, and that's why they're back. So that's why we're doing it.
The show is Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Dan Vaughn with you, along with Kansas City Monarchs manager Joe Cathal-Pietri here as we round third, head for home on the interview here. I bring up Alexis Almeida's story earlier about how he was sort of, I believe the story, if I remember correctly, Jan Hernandez was very vocal in that. I asked this to Darnell Sweeney a couple of weeks ago, and he said that you're really one of those guys that will ask the players about other players. You actively seek their advice, and are you seeing some of that going on this year with a lot of the guys back together?
Well, I mean, I know the guys now, so that's right. But recruiting guys, sure. I mean, I ask guys their opinion on the players that I don't know. Right. I think that's important. I think it goes the other way also. When I think players are looking to come into our program, I think they ask the players what they feel about us. And hey, what do you think of your manager? And I think that goes back and forth. But yeah, I mean, I want to know about these guys, and I ask players that I respect. I ask them, how are they going to fit in our clubhouse? And I want to know, because if they don't fit in our clubhouse and they're not going to fit in our city, then I'm not interested.
Right.
If they fit on the field and I know they're good players, that's one thing. Okay. But they have to fit in our clubhouse. They have to fit in our community. They have to fit with our front office. They have to fit with a lot of different things. And if I ask our players that are already in house, that know how we run our organization, then yeah, Joe, they're going to fit in. They understand because they've already been here.
Away from the players, new division this year. We haven't really talked about this much on the show, but I was asked this too as well. Different division format. Basically the same, Sioux City, Lincoln. You're going to see those two clubs again, but now it's a little different, adding Winnipeg and Fargo-Moorhead. Have you looked at the schedule yet, or you're not worried about that? You just kind of come day by day?
Well, the schedule is a schedule. I'm not looking at the schedule really as much, but I know we're going to have some competitive in division. I mean, having Fargo and Winnipeg in our division, I mean, we already know what we're going to have to face with Lincoln and Sioux City and Sioux Falls in our division. Really, really difficult teams in our division. But now putting Fargo and and Winnipeg in your division, this is some division that you're going to have. So it's going to be exciting. I mean, there's no question about it. And you see, I say it all the time that we have really good managers and directors that put teams together. And you see the teams and how they're being built, and you're wow, and you see you have your hands full.
Joe, appreciate your time as always, and we will see you. We'll chat one more time, then we'll be ready for camp and all that. And I mean, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I'm looking forward to it. Are you?
Yes, I am. Can't wait.
Appreciate your time as always, sir. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Suddenly had a cough attack there. Sorry about that. Know what happened there? I got the water and coffee and all that. But appreciate Joe Cappy after joining us here. Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Dan Vaughn with you. Don't know what that was, but just going to move the camera just a tad here. There we go. I don't know why it looks kind of funny today. I'll put a new graphic up, but I'm going to change cameras, so we can do that. Let me put a new graphic up for us as well. Let's just take this one down. We'll bring it back in just a moment. Reset the interview. I think Joe, behind the layers of the onion here, you heard him say we've got to do it. I mean, we've got to keep that offense going. And I think if you hear him talk about the division, which has been a offensive division, now you lose Cleveland, but you gain Fargo. And Fargo's been an offensive juggernaut the last couple of years. You get Winnipeg as well, who's in the past been a pretty tough club offensively. We always know pitching wins it, but to at least go into the ball game even, you needed some offense. Now, the pitching staff's going to be the key for everybody. And we saw last year the real challenge was the reloading of the roster, at least for Kansas City. And I think you hear Joe realizing that, to keep up with the Joneses, we got to keep that offense going. And I think you're going to really like David Thompson. I think he's the kind of guy, I love what Joe said about him too, sort of being got an edge to him. And you like guys with edges. And I reiterate too what Joe says over and over again, that culture matters. I mean, what a guy does in our city, with our organization, with our front office, all those things matter. And, I'm not saying other managers don't do that, because they do. But the temptation is, and I think we've all been there. I'll put it to you this way. If you play fantasy sports, you know what I'm talking about. You don't care if a guy has a poor locker room culture. You don't care, a clubhouse culture. You want the best numbers, right? You're putting together the best numbers. You're not trying to draft a bunch of choir boys, right? That's kind of thinking. But when you have reality, real life, real world reality, it all changes your perspective, and that culture does matter. And show me a team that's got poor culture, and I'll show you a team that doesn't win a lot. It's not successful. It's not a championship caliber club. And I think you see that over and over again. Show continues. It's time to go to our hot stove update. You're on Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Bring this down. There we go. And bring you into the Monarchs hot stove. Got the hot stove going there behind me. Got although it's a little warm throughout the Midwest to be by the hot stove, but I guess at sundown it's all good. But you heard the headline that J.C. Escara, young man, 26-year-old out of the Orioles organization, joined the ball club. Florida native, drafted to 13 out of high school, but went to Florida National, and then was drafted the 15th round of Baltimore, joining us. So welcoming JC. We already saw that grabbing. The rest of the hot stove, we're going to go basically what we talked about on the ball, at least on the interview with Joe, because basically we talked a little bit about the headliners, but I want to go through them just quickly with you and give you an idea, just in case you're playing catch up here. But let's go with Jamison McGrain first. McGrain, probably, I don't know if Jamison was not back with the ball club. I still think regardless of that situation, I'm pretty sure, it's kind of like Alay Lago for the 2018 season. Alay Lago will always be well known in Kansas City parts for his play in the postseason back in 2018. I think McGrain would be thought of in a similar fashion, regardless if he's back again. And I'm going to explain to you the reason he is back, and because it's a little interesting note. We've talked about it a little bit before. I'll get to that in a moment. But why do I say that to you? Well, I think it's pretty simple. A couple of big plays late in the year, some crucial saves, including back-to-back saves against Cleveland down in Texas, as the Monarchs closed out things on a roll and didn't lose for the last, 10 ball games, something like that. Well, you're always going to remember him for this right here. This one right here.
A little roller back to the mound. There's McGrain. He'll race to first base. He'll do it by himself, and the Monarchs have won it. Reign Reborn reigns again. The 2021 American Association champions. And you can notch this one. Final score, Kansas City 8 and Fargo Moorhead 1.
Sorry about that. I think no matter what, you'll always think of Jamison McGrain. If he didn't come back this year, you'd always think of Jamison McGrain as that guy to make the final play in 2021's American Association Championship Series. But good news, JMO's back. We kind of tease this a bit because Mike Hinneman on him at the Pin a couple of weeks ago was talking about JMO, and he wasn't saying he was going to be back. I'm not saying that. But you got the impression, just hearing Mike talk about his staff, that he was talked to JMO lately, Jamison McGrain. But last year, 90 strikeouts, 33 walks, 6 wins. What made him so impressive with the ball club, and Joe talked about this, the ability to close games and start games. He really was that guy that pitched in wherever he was needed, because he was going to be a closer, want to be a starter, back to closing again. He's just that versatile. And welcoming Jamison McGrain back to the ball club. Now, I'm going to get to this. I'll go ahead and do it now. I'm going to table that, okay? I'm going to table it to the very end of our discussion. I'll come back to Jamison McGrain, because I think it does merit a little clarification, because if you saw the post, you may be going, no, wait, what's that mean? What's that mean that his contract option, what does that mean? And it means different things in different organizations, different brands of baseball. I'm going to go through it with you in just a moment. I can speak for you with the American Association style. Alexis Almeida's here on the hot stove, 19 driven in, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs the postseason, handled the pitching staff well. And Joe talked about that. He came to the ball club, and I remember this vividly. We got to Gary. We'd been to Cleveland, had an off day. We lost Eric Stout on that Saturday. Danny Wazinger in that late inning on Sunday in Cleveland pulled up lame. We went to Cleveland, or left Cleveland on a Sunday, went to Gary for a Tuesday, off day, travel day, and there was basically one catcher, Morgan McCullough. Morgan was really kind of filling in and not really the guy. He was not an everyday guy. Well, we talked about the relationships and how that worked out, and Joe able to secure Alexis Almeida, which also Charcer Burks and Elroy Urbina were all 3 signed. And I've talked about this last year in the offseason some. Those 3 signings in and of themselves, each one probably, okay. You collect them together, pretty big signing, because they each had a role to play in that ball club. Burks solidified in center field, Almeida behind the dish, and then Elroy was that long relief guy you needed. And you needed some innings as you were losing pitchers left and right. But Alexis had a great year, and really great to have him back. Big part of the ball club and a champion for sure. Welcome Alexis Almeida back. Yes, Joe definitely has a great culture, and it matters. Culture matters in anything you do. I'm telling you, and I believe in this 100%. I hope my culture, my front office with my staff, with my little front office, my little staff that I have, I hope that it matters. I hope no matter what we do in life that culture matters. It should matter. Good culture should matter. And you're right on, GM. Hot Stove continues here on Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. Let's roll right along. I mentioned David Thompson. I'll give you a little bit more background about him. And we talked a little bit with Joe about him. We didn't just in detail. I love the fact that Joe kind of telling us he's got an edge to him. I don't know what that really means as far as a definition, but I think that means that you're going to like this guy. Joe continually finds guys that you're going to like. Think of all the guys. You heard him talking about Gabby Guerrero. That's a classic example. Guys you love, guys you like. But David Thompson fits the pedigree, AAA, AA guy, veteran guy, cusp guy. This is a guy that can really have a breakout year. And I'm my early pick to be the real breakout guy, newcomer, is this guy right here, David Thompson. He'll join the ball club playing in the corners. But, grinders, definitely grinders, no doubt. Those grinders matter, Kenny. I mean, you got to have those guys. You got to have that catcher, center fielder. Those. Not that a catcher and a center fielder are role players, but you put those three guys together on June 6th last year, and they all were grinders, and they each, grinding out every day and needing those guys. But you're right on, spot on. Hot Stove update. Let's kind of recap what happened after our last show. Now we're going to be going into a weekly show starting next week, so we will have less catching up to do. But Matt Hartman, right-hander, signed with the Monarchs, spent the 21 season, the Braves organization, pitching at AA and at High A Rome and AA Mississippi with my friends, longtime friends who were there. But Hartman, let's put him up there. Hartman, great flexibility. He's a little bit of a Jamison McGrain type. He can do both start and relief. I would see him, I don't know the plan exactly. Joe sort of alluded to that, but he does have flexibility. And Joe loves flexibility. Guys who can play multiple positions. Guys can fill multiple roles in the pitching staff. You never know how it's going to shape out. But I would think that Hartman fits that mold, a versatile guy. And Matt Hartman, right-hander, 26-year-old, 6'3", 220. And appreciate all the graphic work from Morgan and her team there at the ball club. And that is our Hot Stove update. Let's I gotta figure out how to transition here. Let's do this because I don't want to see two of me. Let's here we go. Okay. Seeing two of me is a little rough. So there we go. Let's bring that down. Okay. Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs continues, rounding third, heading for home, getting this thing wrapped up. I mentioned got the Hot Stove. I want to give you a couple of things to the American Association. Usually we just kind of gloss over some of the news and notes, but I feel like this is a pretty important thing to chat about here. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. So we are talking the association there. I'll slide over just a bit. Two of my all-time favorites are no longer playing in the association. I don't know if you saw this. Jose Sermo and Michael Lang. Now, Sermo, former MVP in this league, a guy that's been a thorn in the Monarchs' sides. And really, I'll be honest with you, the 2018 season, his MVP year, it was Sermo, who I think we were all worried about. That would be the big offensive juggernaut for Sioux City to be a difference maker in that series. Sermo was real quiet in that series. And he did come back to a much better 19 postseason. But Jose's going to play in Japan. Congratulations to Jose Sermo. I'm going to play in the Industrial League over there. Basically, Japan structure, without going into too much detail about it, Japan structure is the two big leagues, and then they've got this industrial league. Well, they've also got minor league. They've got the two big leagues, two minor leagues below it that are affiliated. They got this industrial league, which is very good baseball. And he's playing in the industrial league over there in Japan. He'll be missed, but a very good young man, a guy who I spent time with in Gary. Remember the time he got signed to go to the Boston Red Sox. I'll never forget his last day with the ball club. He was actually already off the ball club's roster, but he went to the ballpark anyway on the road in Grand Prairie to see his teammates on a hot July. You know, he could have just gone to the hotel and kicked it. He went to hang out with his old teammates or former teammates before he caught his flight that night to go join the Red Sox organization. I'll always remember that Jose decided to go with his team with the team bus. And I just always remember he's just an ultimate team guy, just a phenomenal young man. And we're going to be missed in the league. But Jose Sermo, congratulations going to the Japanese Industrial League. The other gentleman, Michael Lang, I'm not going to go into all the details about Michael Lang. I could go on forever about this guy. One of my favorite players over the years. I know a lot of Monarchs fans / T-Bones fans remember him losing the ball in the lights in game number 5 of the AL Division, American Association Division Series back in 2018. That'll always kind of stand out a lot of our memories. But this is a guy that, class act, fine young man, has been a star in this league consistently over the years, back to back every year. Let's see here, 8 seasons with the club. He leads the franchise in Sioux City, 588 in games played, 680 hits leads the club, 462 runs leads their club, doubles, triples, total bases, at-bats, plate appearances, hit by pitch, strikeout, you name it. The guy is Mr. Everything in Sioux City, and he will be missed. It's a guy that was a up top of the line guard guy that I remember several times you get the bottom 2 of the order out, boom, here goes Michael Lane with a double. Or you start the ball game off with Michael Lane triple or double or single. Steal a base, he's at second. Steal a base, he's at third. He was that kind of game-changing ball player. And what both these guys represent, class acts all the way on and off the field. And I tip my cap to Michael Lane. You'll be missed, my friend. I'm looking forward to following your exploits in retirement, quote unquote. But I'll miss calling games as he's the opponent. And I want to get him out. But love seeing him play, love seeing Sermo play, and 2 guys who I really feel strongly about, and they showed love of the game and love of other people, and that's the kind of people we need in this world. So Michael Lane, congratulations on a great, great season. I mentioned the American Association. I want to bring this down a little bit here as we round third head from. We got one more segment here. Let me bring this down for you guys so you can see this. Produce on the fly here. I don't know why my graphics a little bit wonky here, but what I want to do is bring this up for you. I mentioned the American Association. This is going back to the Jamison McGrain deal. You may have seen this. Jamison McGrain, the actual wording was his contract option, the contract option wasn't signed. It was that his contract option had picked up. And what that means is, and to give you an idea what that means, for example, the big leagues, let's use a big league example. Royals use prospect A. He can go back, if he's a 40 man, he can go back and forth from the big leagues to the minor leagues as many times in an option year. You get 6 of those, right? So it's all tied on free agency. That's how it used to be. Now, they may have chopped a year off doing the new player in the new agreement. I don't remember. I have to check that. But anyway, to shorten it down for you real quickly, you can go back and forth. The Royals, Kansas City can call a guy back and forth as many times as he wants to. That's an option. It's not each year you have an option, correct? A little different in our league. Now, what it is, you get an option of your contract. It basically is a series of 1-year contracts with an option on the back end, meaning that, we heard of player options in the big leagues. A guy's got a 4-year contract plus an option year for a 5th year. And usually the guy can take that last year. Maybe let's say the contract at $17 million, and that's a good number. And he's had, he can take that player option, or he can test free agency if he thinks he's worth more. Sometimes it works out. Some guys will wind up turning that $17 million to $72 million, whatever. It's not the same way for us, except it works this way. Basically what it is that McGrain picked up the player option. He's taken his option. He's coming back on his 2021 contract, which is good for 2022, and he becomes a free agent next October. Now, that doesn't mean he can't come back in October of 2022, but he will become a free agent. The Monarchs won't be able to exercise his contract option. That long list of players you see usually around Labor Day weekend that we option those contract, they exercise their options, or we give them those options. Well, he won't be on that list because he'll be a free agent, although he can be re-signed then. So he wasn't technically re-signed. He was exercising his player option to come back, and that explains the difference there. I hope you guys understand. A little confusing. It's different in the big leagues, but it makes some sense that, again, the player figures, okay, I'm going to come back. I've got a good place to go. And, maybe he comes out with a better deal. And for example, I'll give you an example. This didn't happen to Jose Sermo, but it could have. Jose Sermo could have done the very same thing and maybe got a great deal in Japan or Korea or whatever. I'm just saying those are possibilities. And a player sometimes gambles on himself. We've all done that. And Jameson will be welcome back, I'm sure, in 22 regardless. But the way that works, where, for example, I don't know, the signing of Alexis Almeida was signed to a contract. So Alexis will be property of the Monarchs if the Monarchs select to keep him in the property system in that list of players after the 22 season. But McGrain will become a free agent in 22. I think I told you 22, 23. He can come back in 23 and be re-signed, but he's got to go through the entire claiming. And what happens usually, let's say Almeida, or Connell Willis is a great example. It was released a couple of days ago. Willis goes through the waiver process and all that can be claimed. Dylan Baker was claimed by Fargo when he retired. This way, Jameson will be able to come immediately a free agent and sign with whoever he wants to, which very well could be the Monarchs in 23. So I hope that explains you guys the story there with the Monarchs and the exercising options times. Okay, Rain Reborn, the Kansas City Monarchs. Quickly, I'm going to jump into Monarchs 101 DV. It's the Masters class. It's the Masters content. It's the that bonus stuff. We like to talk about their partners at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City. You know, I love my bells and whistles. Let's roll some bells and whistles. Here we go. Now, this one is not really Monarchs. Well, it's Monarch-centric, but it's Negro Leagues-centric more than anything else. I was looking, and I've said this a couple of times to you guys, that will tell the story of the Monarchs going the road in 1930 or 40, and it was an official sanctioned Negro American League game or Negro National League game or whatever. But I haven't really talked about how important that is to note and some of the quirks in how that works. I mean, this would be an essay question, perhaps down the road, if we had a test for this, because technically, I've talked about, for example, Sioux City, Iowa, where the Monarchs went up to Sioux City. I believe they played the St. Louis Stars in Sioux City, Iowa, in an official Negro American League ball game. Now, what's that mean? Well, it counted the standings and all that, which we know that. That's kind of cool. But what you don't realize, and I didn't realize this until I found an article in a Canadian paper this week, and I'll talk about that in a moment, that what that means is that the Monarchs and the Stars played Major League Baseball because now the Major Leagues recognize the Negro Leagues as Major League, right? So the Negro Leagues in 2020 were recognized as Major League Baseball. That means any Monarchs game played in the Negro Leagues, that was an official league game, not the barnstorming games now. We're not talking House of Davids going across the country. We're talking locally played wherever they were played, in Kansas City, wherever. In this case, Sioux City, Council Bluffs, where they played there, other places throughout the country. Those become official Major League Baseball games, and that means Sioux City is home to Major League Baseball in the past. Think about that. That's pretty monumental. It's pretty cool. And the reason I dive into this, because I was looking at this story from Canada, where the Monarchs and the Chicago American Giants in back-to-back years, and I believe this is 1933 and 1934. I believe that's correct. I'm sorry, 38 and 39. Pardon me. 38 and 39. The Monarchs and the Chicago American Giants played back-to-back two-game series in, Regina is where I found this, Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, but they were on a tour where they played St. Paul, they played in Iowa, they played in up in Winnipeg, and they went across, Canada, but they were playing official league games, which means Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada has actually seen big league baseball. And they saw big league baseball in 1938 and 39. Monarchs got swept in a double dip in 38, or not double dip, but two-game series. Split the series in 39, a two-game series, although the Monarchs in 38 did finish as champions, so there is that. But what I also find interesting, and this is what you're finding. By the way, little tidbit in that 38-39 season, Frank Duncan was with those American Giants there at the time, and it was this 19th season of pro baseball. So he joined the American Giants his previous year, but of course spent all that time with the Monarchs. But what I get to is there's some interesting notes here, and what really stood out to me, besides the fact that now the games in Sioux City or Council Bluffs or Birmingham or wherever, if they were official Negro League ball games in the standings, that means they actually are official Major League games in those cities. So suddenly, many Major League markets exist that didn't exist before. So think about that. Sioux City, the Stockyards Park, was home to the Monarchs and the St. Louis Stars in official Negro League ball game. It was a Major League ballpark at that time. That one series. The series in Regina is the same thing. So all across the country, all these different places the Monarchs played in official Negro League action, those were big league ball games. That's piece number one. Number two I want to tell you about is that because of this, there's some confusion wrong. And I'll give you an example. This is an example from that series. We're not living in a day and age where stats are like that. Basically our stat guys, our official score types in the decision, base hit, error, whatever, and those are all automatically generated in a computer. It goes to the Point Street database, and they're updated on right then. Well, back then, everything was done old school ledger style, and there were mistakes. And one of the big issues that Seamheads, who's the big database trying to collect all and kind of fill in the gaps for the Negro Leaguers, Seamheads was a great site. I encourage you to check it out. Great stats in there, great stories. Is fill those gaps in. Where are those gaps? Where are those places? Where are those players? Are those stats accurate? And because you get situations like the Regina series, which weren't, even though they were official Major League ball games, they weren't considered Major League ball games. At least they weren't publicized that way statistically. Does that make sense? So the stat folks didn't think to tabulate those as league ball games, just put them as exhibition games. So you've got many games like that. There's a situation, one of these ball games, and I'm going to see if I can find it here for you, but we wrap things up here. But there was a player there, and I'm going to find him here. My notes. A gentleman had a double. I'm trying to find this guy's name here, and if I can find it here. There was a player there that didn't have any doubles in his career. And basically what it was is I got to find this here. Anyway, I'm sorry I'm stalling here because I lost my notes here. But the point is that this young player had no doubles that year, but he did have a double in that series, which was a game-winning double. And that stat was lost forever until recently when the folks realized, oh, wait, those games in Canada were real Major League ball games. And that's the dilemma. And so you've got a dual dilemma here. As we discover these games being played were Major League games, we've also got to discover that guys had different stats. It's part of the challenge of the ongoing devotion that we have as researchers as well on the Negro Leagues, that we're finding it all the time. These numbers are changing and growing left and right. That's pretty cool. I think that's really a really cool point. And so I want to make that point to you here, Monarchs 101, that A, some of these towns became major league towns, and B, that's why some league stats change and stats are different here on Monarchs 101 TV, the Masters class here on Reborn with the Kansas City Monarchs. All righty, Reborn continues. Wrap things up here. A couple of things of note. I'm just going to scatter shoot. I was going to pull these up for you, but first off, these are the Monarchs notes right here. Be sure to join us Youth Camp Day on Thursday, June 23rd. Special 11 a.m. first pitch. Details at monarchsbaseball.com. Gates open at 9:30. Also, I wanted to show you this, and I'll try to get this to us next week. Maybe I can get some video for you, but I don't know if you guys saw this, but a really cool deal that the ball club did. The great day last week. I mean, I pull a picture up real fast here. That's why sometimes a one-man band, I realize I've gone a little bit too long. I'm going to get off this thing and roll right along. But Here we go. There's a good picture right here. Last week, groundbreaking our new inclusive playground coming this June. That playground located down the right field line. A really cool deal. It is create a better environment for everyone where everybody stays, enjoys, and plays. And a really thank you to our partners, the Variety Children's Charity of Greater Kansas City, helping make this happen. Really all-inclusive. There we go. All-inclusive playground there at the ballpark. I guess I should bring this down too. But I'm having a while the last 2 weeks, my graphics are all janky. They were pretty good for a while there. Now they're all got to move. But really cool thing for these youngsters to have a special playground for them, and these improvements will be able to provide sensory kits, adult changing tables and restrooms, accessible parking, communication, and sign language boards, ramp sitting for up-close experience, accessible website updates, all that, and really cool that we see that in our partnership with the Variety Children's Charity. I want to share that with you, and that came last week. All right, tickets available at monarchsbaseball.com. Opening day coming up pretty soon, right? It's May 13th. One last announcement on that before I let us go is that we've got pennants. Like, you needed one more reason to come out in the ballpark, right? Did you need another reason? First 1,000 folks are going to get the American Association Championship 2021 pennants. There we go, looking good. First 1,000 fans get those pennants Friday the 13th, 7 p.m. Championship celebration, all that. Again, all those details on our website, monarchsbaseball.com. And, of course, you can always call 913-328-5618. Operators are standing by. Group nights, suite nights, tickets, you name it, all that. Your Monarch sales staff is ready to help you, get you ready for 2022. All right. A couple of program reminders. Next week, we'll be back at our normal time, noon Central Daylight Time. So we're going to have that for you. And we'll kind of try to pare this thing down a little bit. Sorry, I went a little long. I got a little excited with the I didn't think it would take me that long today, but it did. I guess when DB tries to be short, he still goes long. How about that? Thanks for stopping by. You catch the podcast on wherever you get your podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can get your podcast there and hear this show in a podcast format along with our Monarchs Flashback Moment. You can check that out. Of course, monarchsbaseball.com, our YouTube, our Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Morgan's got the TikToks going. Of course, you can follow me at Dan Vaughn Jr. That's VAUGHAN JR. And a big thanks to all the folks this week. I've been on 3 different podcasts. A big thank you to all those podcast folks. I ought to get those on the podcast and to talk more about those. They're going to be on a podcast. How about that? All righty. That's what I got for you. Let's close things out with a little Go Monarchs. Before we do that, let's give you one more time that final play of Jamison McGrain back in 2021, because he's back and looking forward to having him, and JMO back. I say it every time. The reason I believe we're the best, because you're the best, the fans of the Kansas City Monarchs. Let's show more love tomorrow than we did today. All right? More love tomorrow than we did today. Let's be better going forward in 2022. Love all you guys. We're getting close. I'm just a few weeks away from being in KC, seeing all your smiling faces a couple of weeks later. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to screaming Go Monarchs with you. You guys ready for a little Go Monarchs? Let's do it. A little bit. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Go Monarchs. I'll see you next time, everybody. How about a little J-Mo to say goodbye?
You know what? A little roller back to the mound. There's McGrain. He'll race to first base. He'll do it by himself. And the Monarchs have won it. Reign Reborn reigns again. The 2021 American Association champions. And you can notch this one. You know what?